Hello, everybody. Welcome here to the Wine with Jimmy channel. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and we are here looking at North Spain, Series 2 of the North Spain area. So there you are. Series 1 covered Galicia and specifically the Rías Baixas DO, and now we're on the other DOs, the Denominación de Origin. So we are now looking at a 4-part series. This video is free content on Ribiero. But we will be looking at the other 3, parts 2, 3, and 4, available only on my e-learning portal that you'll see at the bottom of the slide. So first of all, of course, we need to understand where this DO of Ribiero is located. We are here in the sort of southern section of Galicia, the middle southern section. Now, the DO Ribiero has a bit of substance behind it, with 2,350 hectares, making it roughly about sort of 50–60% the size of Rías Baixas, which sits to its west, as you'll see on the map, the green area. Now, this is the oldest DO in Galicia, and you may see that if you visit here, you're likely to visit this city called Orense, which sits at its eastern side of the DO on the River Minho. And the River Minho is what runs through this area. It runs through the Ribiera Sacra, comes down here through the Ribiero area, so our orange zone that we're looking at here. Then it starts to form the natural border here of Portugal, separating Spain from Portugal. And that is, in fact, 2 areas of the Rías Baixas, O Rosal and the Condado de Teia. So we are here on the banks of the Minho, around the city of Orense to the west majorly. And you may see on the label something called Ribiero Castes, which is in fact a kind of a labeling term for 100% of a preferred grape variety in this area. A little bit of history for you. So Romans settled in this area between the 1st and the 3rd centuries. Cistercian monks later planted plenty of vines, and they established the San Clodio monastery here that you'll see in this picture in the 12th century. Now this has wine production associated to it, as does many monasteries and abbeys. The area actually becomes quite famous for sweet wines. There was quite a strong history of sweet wines, which are called Tostado do Ribiero. So that's what you see written here. Here's a modern label of it, Tostado de Costiera, but it's the same thing. And that's from the Middle Ages to the 18th century. And that's because it was drank by pilgrims on the way to Santiago de Compostela. And it became quite well known and started to travel quite far afield, as far as England as well, which took quite a liking for anything with some sugar to it they would like. And these are sweet, sweet wines. So the area, of course, is inland from Rías Baixas. So although it is slightly more sheltered than Rías Baixas, it still has a maritime climate, and the temperate conditions are with quite a lot of rainfall. So you'll find that you have summers being around sort of late 20s, winters around -2, -3 degrees, and the rainfall at 900 millimeters. So yes, less than Rías Baixas, but still above the average. It produces here mainly white wines, and the most planted grape variety is Treixadura, or called Treixadura in Portugal. It's either made as a single varietal, or it is the lead component in a white blend with other Galician varieties. I'll talk about these very, very shortly. It's not unusual for producers here to ferment and mature their most expensive wines in oak, and skin contact is probably, in terms of proportion, in comparison to Rías Baixas, a little bit more popular. Now, with this section, with this video, I would love to hear from you. If you've been to Galicia, if you've been a pilgrim to Santiago, if you've been to Vigo, if you've been close nearby, or you've just enjoyed wines from these DOs or even Albarino, please do get in touch and comment on the video below. The geology and topography here. So vineyards are terraced along the rivers and specifically the Minho. And the best vineyard sites are on the hillsides at an elevation of around 100 to 350 meters. The soils here are mostly granitic, about about 3/4 granitic, and then about 20% schist and the rest sedimentary, which is limestone and sandstone. Granite, we know, is a very solid bedrock, famous in Galicia. It is well draining, and on top is where we find the schist. Schist is a heat-retaining, coarse grain, laminated crystalline rock, which is rich in potassium and magnesium, but poor in nitrogen and other organic substances. So typically you find schist as a part of the topsoil with some limestone and then a granite bedrock below that. Schist is also metamorphic, based generally on granite, been pressured in the ground through time, and then fractured into this very sort of fractured style rock. You'll see here the terraces made out of granite, very solid rock, and typically a lot of these stone structures, not so many here, but of the pergola vines are also made out of granite. The key grape variety. So we know it's about white wines. We know it's about Treixadura leading as a single varietal or probably blended. Its origin of this variety is likely to be the Vinho Verde area in Portugal. We have less than 1,000 hectares of this under plantation today. It is thin-skinned, so it's prone to rot. It is also prone to downy mildew, botrytis bunch rot, but it actually is drought resistant. So it's not really the most apt grape variety for this area, but you can get summer droughts in these parts of Galicia. It's used mainly as a blending variety or as a single varietal, as I mentioned. The wines tend to be a little bit more fuller than Albarino, and that's because the acidity can be much, much lower than an Albarino. So the style of this, so we know it's mid-ripening, it's low in acidity. Remember, Albarino being high in acidity, with apple and peach flavors, typically things like herbal notes and floral notes, which I've left in here. So a lot of herbal characteristics and a hint of floral. They can be quite sort of lemony to golden in color, certainly as well, when they give it a bit of skin contact for more texture in these wines. One must be careful with skin contact with this because of the lower amounts of acidity that you find in Treixadura. So it's quite different, and you can understand why they use it quite significantly as a blending variety due to the fact its acidities are quite low. The winemaking here is mostly protective winemaking, but you, as I mentioned earlier, skin contact, lees aging is possible, and old oak barrels can be used as well. Some real interesting wines if you like that slightly more oily and robust style of wine. Okay, that brings me to the end of this part. I do hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's given you a taste for more. Please do go and check out the next part 2 on the Ribiero Sacra, part 3 on Val d'Arras, and then part 4 on the King's Mountain, Monterey. All of those are only available on my e-learning portal over at www.winewithjimmy.com. You'll see that in the description and at the bottom of the slide. Lots and lots and lots, and I can keep saying this for a long time, lots of exclusive content there that you can access for your studies and for your general knowledge. Please do go and check it out. Any comments, questions, please do pop it in the comments section below. It'd be great to hear if you've tried some Ribiero. Who are your favorite producers? What do you like about the wines? And make sure you click like and subscribe whilst you are there. And of course, if you find yourself in the beautiful rolling hills of Old Blighty, that's the United Kingdom, come and say hello, Jimmy. Come and see me at one of my establishments, maybe for a class, probably a glass, more likely a bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now. Goodbye.